On a Sunday afternoon in South Florida, we get ready for some baseball. The last of this four-game series against the Atlanta Braves. And in fact, the last time we'll see the Atlanta Braves in 2018. Yeah, go Marlins is right. We got some extra kids in town in the ballpark today. We've got some dogs here, too. Bark at the Park Sunday at Marlins Park. Should be an awful lot of fun. Different kind of crowd today, for sure. Oh, look out, big guy. Hang in there. All right. We got some treats for sure. Not just us, by the way, but that'll do, I'm sure. Paul Severino, Todd Hollingsworth with you inside the broadcast booth as the Marlins look to take 3 of 4 from the first-place Braves.
Listen, they've been playing pretty good baseball, and again, we've talked about this almost all season long here at Marlins Park. When you pitch, you kind of compete, and you realize a few of those fly balls get caught on the warning track. You know, those vibes feel a little bit better. You start to believe that you're going to win some baseball games. And this team has pitched. They've been good starting pitching, and the bullpen has been outstanding. Close games, but games that the Marlins typically win.
And they've gotten the big hit, including Brian Anderson last night. Didn't start the game, but came into pinch hit. And on a night in which everybody walked out with an Andy jersey, somebody walked out with a home run ball.
Well, I'll tell you what, Andy continues to amaze us all season long. We've talked about a lot of things, hits. We've talked about playing every day. We've talked about, going the other way, the approach, runners in scoring position, all sorts of things. Add this to his resume, stepping up into a big moment in the ball game, creating some energy, and coming up with the biggest hit of the night off the bench. Not easy to do, yet he continues to impress. He has been grinding all season long, really grinding here in the second half, and you look at what he did in that moment right there, stepping in and coming through. It really just speaks volumes to what he's accomplished this season.
It comes as no surprise, of course. The Atlanta Braves, despite the last 2 losses, have won the season series against the Miami Marlins, but in these last 2 wins for Miami, the bullpen has been nearly unhittable.
Well, it really has, and it's set itself up well. You're not asking too much of the bullpen right now because, oh, by the way, you're getting quality starts, and to me, that's always the key. Any bullpen is going to have issues if it's overexposed, but here's the deal. Look, the last 2 ball games, 6 innings, 3 hits. Not overwhelming numbers, not numbers that are like, okay, you're completely dominating the opposition, blowing everybody away and racking up, 15 strikeouts, but the point is you're getting the job done because you're not asking too much of this bullpen. It's been a topic of conversation, but of late it's been great.
Yeah, hopefully they can keep things going behind Pablo Lopez, who gets to start today against Kevin Gausman. We're going to step aside here at Marlins Park. When we come back, very special edition of Inside the Marlins, Building the Future. That's all coming up after a quick preview when we come back. Take a look at the new edition of Inside the Marlins with airs afterwards after the postgame show tonight.
Rookie ball. The journey starts now.
It's a little different down here in the minor leagues.
The biggest challenge for guys is it can be a long process.
Developing players through education.
We hope to have the best education department in all of sports.
We are going to be the best because we are going to constantly be iterating and figuring out what's the best way to get better.
As players develop, they rise through the system.
It's a performance business here.
Elite athletes with strong tool packages who play in the middle of the field. That's what we're going after.
Whether you're a #1 prospect or you're not ranked at all, you still got an opportunity every time you step on the field and put on that jersey.
The Marlins are building the future.
That's the business we're in, is player development, and that's how we get our juice.
Looking forward to that. Building the future coming up after the postgame show tonight. But first, the series finale against the Braves in mere moments on Fox Sports Florida. Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By W.B. Mason. Who but W.B. Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet. See your South Florida dealer today. And by your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. Beautiful day here in Miami. Last of this 4-game series against the Atlanta Braves. Day off tomorrow. 2 in Boston. A very short road trip and then back over the weekend for the Toronto Blue Jays. NL East now, however, with the Atlanta Braves in town. Let's take a look at the Braves starting lineup. There is Ender Inciarte. He hits second behind number 13, Sabanero Soy. Ronald Acuna Jr. And then you got Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis hitting 3-4. And Dansby Swanson, who had the lone run of the night last night for the Atlanta Braves, a home run late. He hits 8th with Kevin Gausman on the hill. So that's the lineup that Pablo Lopez will face. Another tough task. He had the Yankees last time out, but Pablo gets the ball on the Sunday afternoon.
I'll tell you what, his last time out, he was outstanding August 21st versus the Yankees. Did not earn a decision, but just 1 run, 6 innings. Struck out 4. 4.42 ERA on the season, 10th start of the season. Second versus the Braves. 4.11 ERA here at Marlins Park. Fastball, sinker, curve, and change. Now keep an eye out for the changeup. It's going to be a big pitch. 27 of them in his start against the Atlanta Braves August 13th.
Don Mattingly's bunch has won 5 of the last 7, looking to finish the home game, the homestand strong.
Let's go ahead and get you the Marlins defensively. Dean gets the start in left, Sierra in center, Ortega once again in right. Anderson back in there, Riddle, Castro, Dietrich, and Holiday behind the plate, making his 33rd start of the season.
Glad you're with us. First pitch off speed at 77 miles an hour, but if we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times. Just trying to make Ronald Acuna feel a little uncomfortable at the plate. Hands come off the knob of the bat on the first pitch and the second, as it is 2 balls and no strikes.
That's a good way to remove the idea of a pattern. That's really what he's been capitalizing on, is all the fastballs at the top spot.
There's a fastball down low, and it is 2-1. The bottom part of the strike zone, that is 2-1. Acuna Jr. 4 for 12 in the series with a home run. Shoots that one foul to even things up.
Well, and again, I think it's a good point to even bring this up. I talk about sequencing all the time. I know 4 pitches in, but you know, you can create value with your fastball merely by using secondary pitches to set up the fastball.
Just a little high, and the count runs full. It is a 9-game hit streak against the Marlins for Ronald Acuna Jr. after the 2 for 4 last night. It is a 10-game hit streak with a base hit to lead things off here today.
Fastball splits the plate just below the belt. This is one thing Acuna does well. I know a lot of conversation here in the second half has been centered around the home run. He goes to the right field quite often. We've seen it a couple of times in this series.
1 on for Ender Inciarte, with Brian Anderson in on the grass over at third. Inciarte 2 for 8 in the series. Does have a home run. He's got 3 homers and 12 RBIs this year against the Marlins. The game ender, but I don't believe he has any walk-off home runs this year.
Well, he picked the wrong weekend.
That's right. He definitely won't have any here on the road. I mean, come on. Gotta think these things ahead. Apparently was over my head. It's all right. Just took the first couple of sips of the coffee.
We had a day off yesterday.
Right, exactly. No excuse. I'm blaming it more on the coffee than anything else. Fouled back, a ball and a strike.
Well, speaking of you know, the player's jersey, you know, the Marlins are 5-0. Going back to last year, they swept the San Diego Padres. Oh, by the way, they've gotten it in gear against the Atlanta Braves with their player's jersey on. They're going for a clean 6-0 since these jerseys were brought in last year.
Is that why I saw all kinds of Marlins personnel with a petition to sign up and wear these things for 162?
Maybe. All about the jerseys.
That's right. It's the orange sleeves. Very bright. Lopez waits and time is called. Since the All-Star game for Inciarte, hitting .275. 33 for 120. Much larger sample size, of course, but went into the All-Star break hitting .048. So just as this Atlanta Braves team has continued to surge in the second half, so has Ender Inciarte. But I would imagine that when these guys get home today, they will lay their heads on the pillows and wake up sometime Tuesday. This is the last of 22 games in 20 days for the Atlanta Braves. Three and one. In first place by 3 games on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Marlins won the last 2 games, but no harm, no foul in the National League East standings, as the Phillies have lost 2 games to the Toronto Blue Jays. Ciarte gives this one a ride, right center field. Long run to the gap, and Ortega and Sierra, neither one can get to it. That's going to hop over the wall for a double.
Well, I do not believe we've seen a ball actually get over Sierra's head this season until now. Sierra was playing him shallow over in left center field. He had a long way to go. Ortega did everything in his power to try and get there, but kind of drops in between the two. Check it out once again. Both Sierra and Ortega really didn't have much of a shot. He kind of found the hole in the defense.
Well, that's the 6th double this year for Ciarte against the Marlins. So they're going to appeal something, maybe that Acuna Jr. missed the bag.
Well, I think that's where you got to go with it. Of course, it's a ground rule double.
Let's see.
Nope, never touched it.
Wow. Excellent eyes.
Never touched second base. My goodness.
Well, whether that was the video room or a middle infielder or something, terrific eyes. And let's hope that what we saw was actually the truth, because you're right. I don't think Acuna Jr. ever touched the second base bag. So he missed it there, and then when he knows he missed it right there, the question would be, is that enough to overturn the call on the field? Well, which was that he did not.
If there's another angle that we don't know about, but I'm telling you, the bag gave you no evidence that it was being obviously touched by his right foot in any way.
So it's the crew chief and home plate umpire Fieldon Culbreth talking things over with New York, with the third base umpire C.B. Buckner. Nick Marley's the second base umpire, Chris Conroy, over at first today.
Wow.
And then apparently that.
Man, oh man.
So the call stands. Not enough evidence to overturn the call. I imagine what they would have been looking for was daylight, right? I mean, that's pretty much what you'd have to look for in that situation where you're trying to overturn the call.
Right, naturally, all cameras are for the most part pointing on what's going on in center field as that ball's coming down. In fact, that's Acuna in some regards. Certainly not fault here, but that's what he was watching, and that's why his feet kind of got a little tangled up. As a base runner, you're trying to get as far along as you possibly can and still maintain some ability to get back if the catch is made.
So now it's Freddie Freeman. Takes that one a little up and in. A ball and a strike to Freeman. Marlins have done a good job with him this series, just 2 for 10, but overall in the season 29 for 70 with 8 home runs and 16 RBIs against Miami. Hopped up left side. Anderson gives this one a look, but he'll run out of room off the top of the dugout.
Mentioned it as we opened the game up, Paul. I really do believe that changeup is going to be a huge pitch for Lopez this afternoon. As I mentioned, 27 changeups last time out against the Atlanta Braves. It's the great equalizer against their lefties. You did just see it right there. Throws it in that 84, 85 mile-an-hour range. 143 batting average against.
Acuna Jr. away from third. He singled. Ciarte, an automatic double. 2 on for Freeman. Grounds it right back to Lopez. Froze. Acuna Jr. gets the out at first.
Now, great job by Lopez. Able to get in on Freeman just a bit, ties him up. A one-hopper back at the mound. It's a nice job checking Acuna at third base, even giving him a delay so that he makes his move back to third. Gets the out at first base. Well done.
And in doing so, they will now walk Nick Markakis to load the bases and create a force anywhere for Johan Camargo. Camargo comes up having done some damage against the Marlins this season. He is 4 for 13 in the series, but 23 for 62. A couple of home runs, 12 RBIs, and 8 doubles against Miami this year. And a called strike. I don't know if Camargo's in that Anthony Rizzo zone, but he is right on top of home plate. Out to left. In comes Dean. Long run into foul territory, makes the catch. And Acuna will stay at third.
Yes, sirree. Big time play. That's what you need to have happen in a tough inning. All right. Change up away. Camargo way out in front. I think too many of us thought this catch was going to be made. Nice job by Dean, not only gathering himself to make the catch, but the throw. Is a big part of this. Acuna ready to go. That was Dean, all Dean or nothing. Defense picking it up here in a tight spot.
Bases loaded, 2 outs for Charlie Culberson. Doesn't get a lot easier with Culberson digging in, hitting .288 on the year. Takes that one low and away. 10 homers and 36 RBIs for Culberson this season. But he's 15 for 32 against the Marlins. I know I sound like a broken record, but so many Braves have good numbers against Miami this year. They'll check, and he went, says Chris Conroy. Ball and a strike.
Now back-to-back sliders. Just enough. Be a huge call as this at-bat develops. But is really leaning on the secondary pitches right now.
And a called strike 2 right on the edge. Lopez walking a tightrope in this first inning.
He's made some of his best pitches with his back against the wall. So far, that's the best fastball this afternoon.
Culberson set up 1-2. Here comes the pitch. Doesn't chase it.
Ooh, nice job by Holiday. This is the second time catching Lopez for a Holiday behind the plate. First start since August 19th.
I believe that's Holly to you.
It's true. That's my half brother.
Acuna Jr., Inciarte, and Markakis, the runners, third to first. And you can start the merry-go-round with 3 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. Got that last one up there at 97 miles an hour. We showed you the separation. 20 miles an hour difference. Runners go. Here it comes. Ground ball to short. Riddle up with it, off balance throw. Got him. And Pablo Lopez works out of a bases-loaded one-out jam in the first inning. Riddle makes the play to help out the pitcher. Top of the first inning as Pablo Lopez works into and out of a bases-loaded jam. So now the bats come up to the plate for the Marlins. Their batting order is presented to you by Southwest. Rafael Ortega has presented a bit of a spark for the Marlins the last couple of weeks. He's back there on the top spot. JT Riddle, Austin Dean in the middle. And Brian Holiday, of course, getting the start behind the plate means a day off for JT Realmuto. We have seen Kevin Gausman a couple of times already this season in different uniforms along the way, but here he is with the Braves again.
That's right, making his third start against the Braves. One start as an Oriole, one start as a Brave, and well, now start number 3. He's had a pretty nice little run here with the Braves. 3-1 with a 2 ERA in 4 starts. 2 of the 4 starts, he's gone 8 innings. He has been everything that they could have hoped for, and probably even a little bit more if you think about it. 3 wins in the 4 starts.
0-1 to Rafael Ortega, who takes a strike on the outside corner. 0-2 to the leadoff man and right fielder, who was 1 for 4 with a triple last night.
Gausman, you'll see the 4-seam fastball, the splitter, and slider.
Right back to Gausman. The underhand flip to Freeman, and there is one away.
Let's get you the AutoNation scouting report. Kevin Gausman. Entire stretch, you probably noticed already as the game is now opened up against Ortega. He was in the stretch already. One of the major adjustments he's made since coming over here to Atlanta, and oh, by the way, it's working pretty well. Keep an eye on the leadoff hitter, leading off in inning. Talked about this his last start, and Starlin Castro got him for a home run leading off an inning. This is where he's struggled. 345, 396, 76. 13 home runs allowed to the first batter in an inning. I mentioned the splitter. It's his go-to pitch. And he's looking for a strikeout. He gets himself in any type of trouble 25% of the time. 167 batting average against here in his 4 starts with the Atlanta Braves. No home runs allowed with the split finger fastball. 10 punch outs of the 17.
Little low to Brian Anderson, who had 1 at bat last night, made it count. A pinch hit home run. 2-run homer, first career hit, home run, and RBI as a pinch hitter last night. Fights this one off. Bermuda triangle, and that's going to fall in foul. Markakis from right, Freddie Freeman from first, Culberson out. None of it mattered. Strike.
Get you the Braves defensively for this afternoon's ball game. Acuna Jr. makes the start in left field. Inciarte in center. Markakis over in right as usual. Camargo, Swanson, Culberson, Freeman. That is your infield. Flowers behind the plate. This is his 4th time catching Gausman, so 4 of 5. Good numbers. 2.84 ERA for Gausman when Flowers is catching.
Ball and 2 strikes to Anderson. In the air, the other way. Markakis back onto the track, up against the wall, makes the catch. Allowed out number 2 here in the first.
Well, boy, did he hit that a long way. It's pretty impressive, going straight away right field. Well hit. Markakis, your better defenders in right field in baseball. Good lines, good route, put himself in position to make the catch.
Two down for Derek Dietrich. 1 for 4 in last night's ball game. 5 for his last 17, a double and 2 RBIs. He takes a called strike.
Go back to the AutoNation scouting report. Key number 1, time to stretch. I'll give you some reason for why Gausman made this adjustment. It's one the Braves certainly encouraged. The idea was to get him more under control. Now, he may forfeit a little bit of the velocity. Of course, he's got a very good arm, and generally 94 to 96. I think you've seen more of the 92 to 94 out of the stretch. But he has been in the strike zone since becoming a Brave, unlike his time with Baltimore Orioles. And that is the key. That's what they wanted more of. Good secondary pitches, but more strikes.
Saw a shot of Chuck Hernandez, the pitching coach for the Braves. They worked together in a bullpen session in between his first and second starts as a Brave. Tried it out that second start, that first home start. It worked, and clearly it has worked since. Count full to Dietrich. Nice catch. In an Andy jersey. How about that? You're absolutely.
Well done, Andy. There you go.
Like a wide receiver. Just kind of
corner of the end zone, right?
That's right. Act like you've been there before. I dig it. 3-2 to Dietrich. Out to left center field. Inciarte got a good jump, as he always does. 1-2-3 first inning for Gausman. with you. A scoreless game as Pablo Lopez toes the mound to face 7, 8, and 9 for the Braves in the second. Tyler Flowers, Dansby Swanson, and his counterpart Kevin Gausman. Flowers has started 3 of the 4 games in this series. Splits time with Kurt Suzuki, who got the start last night. And a called strike to Flowers, who has 1 hit in his last 20 at-bats. That 1 hit came earlier in this series. He is 1 for 7.
What a job by Lopez in the first inning, working out of a bases loaded, no out jam. If you would like to believe that there was some momentum that was gained coming here into the second. It's the type of inning that certainly would lend itself to the discussion. Broke out the arsenal, used all of his pitches, good changeup, good breaking ball, added and subtract. We saw 97 miles an hour out of it.
That's right. We have seen, what is this, the 18th game between these two teams? We have seen it quite a bit. I mean, 19. This is the 19th. The Braves are 13-5 against the Marlins this season. You get Acuna Jr., Inciarte, or whoever it might be, the top 2 guys up with Freeman coming up, and you're thinking, well, this has potential.
You've seen
to be,
this show way too many times.
This has potential to be a big inning. They got Freeman to ground back to the mound. They load the bases intentionally. Fly ball, foul ball down the left field line. And then the ground out. Excellent job by Lopez.
Well, and I think this is going to be a fun day because we got Michael Hill coming on in the 3rd inning to talk about a lot of these minor league guys. You know, what's being taught, what's being learned. And if you're a Marlins fan and you've been watching this weekend, which I think most of you have been because the Yankees were just here.
In the right field, Flowers is going to be satisfied with a leadoff single. Well, there is Miyagi. Magneuris Sierra. Yesterday, last night against the Atlanta Braves, making a terrific play. Nick Markakis making a bid for a hit, perhaps extra base hits if we know anything about Markakis, but a sliding catch by Sierra, who, according to the good folks over at Baseball America, the best defensive outfielder in the Pacific Coast League. Their recent best tools issue. In fact, a number of Marlins listed, and we'll talk about those guys throughout the day. We've got Inside the Marlins, Building the Future. Very special Inside the Marlins coming up after the post-game show today. So we'll tease that a little bit, talk about the farm system on our own, and as Holly mentioned, with the president of baseball operations, Michael Hill, who is set to join us in the 3rd inning. Here's Dansby Swanson, who fouls 1 away.
There's been a bit of a theme here on this homestand, Paul, and it's kind of where I was steering it. Obviously, the young guys a huge part of it. The young pitchers an even bigger part. They've allowed 11 runs in 5 games coming into today to the Yankees and the Braves. The Yankees have scored the 2nd most runs in Major League Baseball. The Braves are up there as well, 3rd most runs in the National League. So 2 of the better offenses.
That's Castro behind the second base bag. 1 away.
Miami, join us for our neighborhood series. We are hosting a Hialeah night at Marlins Park on Saturday, September 1st. They start at just $12 for all residents and city employees. For more information, visit marlins.com/neighborhood.
One on, one out for Kevin Gausman. Gauzy, I mean, that makes sense. Pretty easy. Like Holly, kind of easy.
Shorten it up a little bit out of Y.
That's right. Squares to bunt, takes a called strike. It's now 0-2.
revisiting my notes this morning. I think it was kind of interesting. You know, the Atlanta Braves obviously able to acquire Gossman, bring him on board. He's only 27 years old.
It's what they wanted, a controllable arm.
But doesn't it feel like he's been pitching for the Baltimore Orioles for about like the last 10 years?
Yes, it does.
I was expecting to see 31-32 as I revisited my notes, and I said 27. My goodness, he's just, you know, 3 years removed from, you know, young guy status.
Right,
if you know what I mean.
He was the 4th overall pick back in 2012. Carlos Correa went #1 to the Houston Astros. Byron Buxton #2 to the Twins, and Mike Zunino to the Mariners. Gossman comes up empty for the 2nd out. Well, you talked about, you know, themes developing, and one of the themes has been the pitching at home. As we look at the Toyota trend, the home pitching overall since July 28th is .249. The starters have been terrific. The bullpen just as much. Those are major league ranks, all top 5. It all starts with the starting pitcher.
Well, and you know, and that's how I was tying it all together. Obviously, Michael Hill's going to join us, and I'm going to hit him up with a few of those questions of the how and the why, especially when we get to talk about a lot of the younger guys kind of learning how it does. You know, in the minor leagues, it's so vital to learn what your organization's about, your way. We've talked about it all season long. Now that's certainly been part of it. You know, pitching well at home. What have we seen all season long? Marlins have generally pitched pretty well at home. They've played much better baseball at home than they have on the road. But before you get too far ahead and you start saying, okay, well, as you're making improvements and looking and figuring out how to win on the road with the young guys, you got to figure out how to win at home first, and that's, you know, a step in the right direction. And I think we will probably hear that from Michael Hill.
Australia and Chen the last 2 nights, 12 scoreless innings. Pablo Lopez looking to add to it here, but Acuna Jr. does not chase. A ball and 2 strikes. The youngster singled in the 1st inning, was stranded at 3rd. When Lopez worked out of that bases loaded jam in the 1st. Dribbler back to the mound. Lopez gets the out. Pretty good couple of innings for Pablo Lopez this afternoon. Scoreless in Miami. Scoreless heading to the last of the 2nd. We check in with Kelly Sacco.
Thanks, Paul. Well, the coaching staff also gets to participate in player weekend festivities, from the nicknames on the back of their jerseys to the dedication patch on their right arm. And for Coach Don Madden, for manager Don Mattingly, he chose to honor 2 of his former coaches, his Little League coach Pete Studer and his high school coach, Coach Merkel. Donnie credited Coach Merkel as the man who made the biggest influence on his career and had him thinking about the bigger picture, while Studer actually worked with Donnie's father in the post office. He also coached Donnie's Little League team. Donnie said Studer was the guy at church every Sunday that said, "I want tickets when you make it to the big league." And years later, when Studer, being from Yonkers and Donnie playing for the Yankees, he was indeed able to do just that, get him tickets for a big league game. Cool.
That is awesome. That is really cool, Kelly. Thanks so much. Yeah, that's great. Speaking of tickets, the Marlins did a terrific job today. Any kid who came in to the ballpark today, 18 and younger, baseball, softball, uniforms, complimentary tickets. Excellent,
Love it.
excellent stuff. Starlin Castro leads things off. Castro, Riddle, and Dean here in the second against Kevin Gausman.
Castro comes in with the best numbers against Gausman. 11 for 33 in his career. Took a home run. Not this time. Elevated fastball puts Castro down. First out here in the second.
I also think that it is important to note, as we have seen and we have certainly thanked the families that help players get to this level. It's also the coaches too, because you can have a bad coach, let's just say, at an early age and never want to play baseball again. It's very important to have a good coach around you at a young age to build that love of the game.
Well, and I think, you know, follow me here. You know, when I was a kid, and of course I think it was a little bit different than maybe it is today. Obviously, other things factor into what our youth of America kind of deal with. The point being is this, you know, a lot of the other sports, you know, you can play it recreationally and you don't have to have coaches or supervision. Baseball is the one that you can kind of, sort of, but generally, you know, you think of practice and you think of all that goes into being a great baseball player, even at the youth age, and it requires, I don't want to necessarily say it always requires adult supervision, but I think you know where I'm going.
Yes.
You can play pickup basketball with your buddies, and you know, mom and dad don't need to be around for it to make sense. But at an early age, baseball, you do need a little bit more of that.
Yeah. Gausman ahead, a ball and 2 strikes on JT Riddle, who was 0 for 3 last night with a walk. Few hops up the middle. That's Swanson for out number 2.
Hey, Marlins fans, now you can stream games live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. On the app and take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go.
Two outs for Austin Dean. Dean 0 for 3 last night, 5 for 18 on the homestand, double, home run, couple of RBIs. It's a called strike. I'm sure Austin Dean is going to be one of many young Marlins that we talk about that are either A, with this club now at the big league level, or within the organization when the president of baseball operations, Michael Hill, joins us in the third. 1-1 Dean, who has made a lot of solid contact the last couple of weeks since being with the team. In fact, an .820 OPS over the course of his last week. Off day tomorrow, and then Jose Urena off the suspension is going to get the ball. See the Boston Red Sox for a couple of games at Fenway Park. Tuesday on the air at 6:30 with the pregame show, and the first pitch a little after 7 o'clock. Dean out to center field. Inciarte on the track will make the catch. A 1-2-3 second inning for Gausman. We step aside. We'll talk with Michael Hill when we come back. As we head to the top of the third inning inside the broadcast booth, Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, very happy and to be joined here by the president of baseball operations, Michael Hill. Michael, always appreciate the time. I know you're a busy
my pleasure,
guy.
Guys. My pleasure. I always enjoy coming to spend a little time with you guys.
Oh, thanks so much. We pay him to say that, but no, do certainly appreciate it. I know that there's an awful lot of excitement around this club, as there has been throughout the year. As the first pitch of the inning, Ender Inciarte, a base hit into right field to get things going for the Braves. Here we go. At the beginning of the season, we talked about, well, since last trade deadline, you know, we've acquired X number of players, and now here we are, 2 deadlines down the road, essentially. Give us the overview from your perspective of this farm system.
Well, there was a lot of work to be done, and I think there's no secret with that. From last deadline through this most recent, over 30 players added to our system, and it was necessary. We lacked depth at every level, and it's something that we talk about, you know, in building an organization, that it starts with through the ground up. It's a nice comebacker there. 1-6-3 double play. I'll help you out there, Paul.
Absolutely. We'll have you join us in the bottom of the inning too, right?
I love double plays. I get a little excited when we can put two outs.
No, I love it. I love it. That's twice that Pablo Lopez has gotten Freddie Freeman on a comebacker. It's very, very good.
That changeup is, you know, talking development, talking about young players. You know, one thing with Pablo, you know, we've been working with the third pitch and trying to get that developed as he grows at his major league, his 10th start here in the major league level. And I think we, as people who've seen him pitch at each of those starts, we've seen his growth and his development, and to see where he was, where he started the year, and what he was able to do in terms of really forcing his way to the big leagues with the success that he had, starting at Double-A all the way now to the big leagues. It's a credit to him and the work that he's put in to put himself in a position to help us win ball games.
To your point, his last time out against the Atlanta Braves, and I know the bottom line didn't necessarily turn out his way, it was a no decision, but threw more changeups in that start than he had in any other. In fact, one of the keys to today's game would be that changeup against a lineup filled with so many tough left-handers. And of course, it's already factored into today. All right, so we've kind of talked about how the organization has grown, turned over a little bit. And we're going to continue the conversation about, I don't know, 2.5 minutes.
I love quick innings.
Not even going to ask. Michael Hill coming back for the bottom of the third.
Unbelievable.
Holiday, Magnoris, Sierra, and Pablo Lopez due up. Let's not waste any time, because what do we have, like 2 pitches for 3 outs that inning? So go ahead. I think you were in the middle of a question.
I think I get like 2 words out. Hi, Michael. No, here's where we're going. Right, we certainly know we've got evidence that this system's getting better. Last year, 17 All-Stars, and of course the minor leagues are still going on, and I think there's a chance for a few more All-Stars. Already 24 this year. Yes. So the performances are obviously getting better. Prospects are starting to get attention. You've got to be proud of what you're seeing with a lot of these guys.
And I think the bigger thing that we're so proud about is just the layering of depth from short A all the way up to triple A. You look at how our top 30 has really been it's been a transformation. When you look at our top 30, you know, our top 5 prospects in the system are all new players to the organization, either through the draft or through acquisition, and almost 10 of our top 15 came via the trades that we made. So it was something that we really needed to do in order to put us on solid footing. For us to build what we need to build, to be a sustainable first-class organization, we do it from the ground up. We do it through drafts and through scouting and development, and to see those young players hit the ground running. And there's a lot of stories I think we'll talk about while I'm here on air, but to see those guys hit the ground running and have success is exactly how you draw it up, and that's why we're so excited at what the future holds.
Well, let's start with a pitcher, a guy who we saw for just a glimpse, and hopefully, no official word yet, but hopefully we'll see him again come September. Sandy Alcantara.
Yes, extremely excited about Sandy. As we know, he came over in the St. Louis trade, and this year was about getting Sandy on his feet and giving him all of the weapons and tools so that when he does get to the major league level, we can see that on display, and he's ready to step into our rotation and help us win ball games. And we got a little taste of that. We got a little taste of that with the 1 start that he made. Unfortunately, he had the infection in his armpit and went to the disabled list, and we needed to send him back just so he could get back on track with his rhythm and the ability to command the strike zone. But I think since he's been down, that's what we've seen. Made his 3rd start last night at the AAA level. And the thing that we were really excited about is we wanted him to establish that fastball. It is a power fastball, as we can see, as he was voted the best fastball in the PCL. But it tops out at triple digits. And we're not talking about Tayron Guerrero coming out of the bullpen. This is a starter who's giving you multiple innings, 6-7 innings. Strikeout there at Brian Holiday. But we're talking about a starting pitcher who's going deep in the games, who's able to maintain that velocity. And that's when we talk about an impactful starting pitcher. That's why we're excited about Sandy, because the weapons are there for him to lead this rotation. And voted the best fastball. I think the PCL would agree with that fastball that he has. And it's the rest of his game that has really been developing, and we're excited to get him back here, and we should hopefully get him back here soon, and the people of South Florida can see that.
The guy at the plate right now, Magnoris Sierra, was rated the best defensive outfielder in the PCL. We again have seen bits and pieces of that. I know that some of the time that he's been in the major leagues, there have been some growing pains along the way. Where do you see his development right now?
You know, when we talked about all the depth that we've added to the system, you do that so you don't have to rush guys, so that when they're ready to get to the big leagues, they get here and you hopefully don't have all of those growing pains. But in the situation of Magnoris, you know, when Brinson went down on the disabled list, we knew that there were going to be extended at bats, and we wanted to take a look at where Magnoris was. He started the year on the DL, so he started a little bit behind, but he jumped into his AA season, and we were really starting to see progress. And then we jumped him here to the big leagues, and I think we've seen the good and the bad with him, and what you see with a lot of young players as they get their footing underneath and they get comfortable here at the major league level. I think that's what we're seeing with Sierra now, and I think the best is still yet to come. But one thing we do know, it's game-changing speed that I think, you know, the fans of South Florida will definitely appreciate for many years to come.
Now, one thing that I find very interesting is we're looking at the Baseball America, some of these best tools. You know, we've got 6 guys on the list, and there's a variation between, well, I'll just say it out loud: best fastball, beat best defensive outfielder, best defensive second baseman, best defensive outfielder, best fastball, best defensive. So my point is that we've been talking about this an awful lot over this, not only this homestand against the Yankees, going up against the Atlanta Braves, pitching and defense. how this ballpark plays. Is this something that the minor league system is being taught, or is it merely the idea that we have to bring in the right players, we let them play, when they get up to the Miami, you figure it out? Or do you teach and help them understand that, well, listen, in Miami, this is how we put together our big league roster, and this is how it works. We've got to pitch at home. It's a big ballpark. We've got to defend as well as anybody in the game. And, well, listen, only 6 games under at 500 at home. I know in the grand scheme of things, it's actually a pretty good number.
No, and I think it's a combination of both. I mean, it starts with the athletes. As Pablo gets the single up the middle there, it starts with the players on the field. And it's our job to give them the resources to take advantage of their God-given ability. And I think that's where your coaching staff at every level, because we haven't stopped teaching here at the major league level. But in the minor leagues, that's what Gary Bimbo and Dick Scott and our staff in the minor leagues, that's what they're charged to do, to give our players every resource, everything possible to allow them to reach their maximum potential. And it starts with our philosophy of drafting athletes and drafting impactful players with baseball skills, so that when they do get to the big leagues, that athleticism and that skill can shine.
Rafael Ortega digging in after the Lopez base hit. Now, you, I'm sure, have a terrific idea as to who will be up in September. Nothing has been announced just yet. But how important is it that these guys get a taste of the major leagues if they haven't been here, even if it's just for that month, even if they may not see a lot of the field?
Well, I think it depends on the situation. You know, when we bring guys to the big leagues, we want to give them exposure, but more importantly, we want to give them a taste of what it means to be up here. So that means at bats, that means innings. And when you have a young club that's already in the big leagues, that's what Donnie and Gary and Dick Scott and Brian Chatton and Dan Greenlee, that's what we discuss, and how to make sure that we get at bats and innings for all of these young players, because we have 8 starting positions on the field, and the starting pitcher and your bullpen, and we want to make sure that they all get the necessary innings. Line drive to center field. Man, I should come on more often, because we
pace of play.
Yeah, pace of play.
We'll be done in an hour and a half.
Not enough runs.
We'll be able to get the senior special at 4:30.
That's right. Michael Hill, appreciate the time as always.
My pleasure,
Thanks,
guys.
Michael.
All right.
Awesome,
Thank you.
Step aside here at Marlins Park. Braves and Marlins scoreless through 3.
Marlins Park. Is that what you're looking for?
Mm-hmm.
You had the feel there.
That was better.
That was better. I certainly don't want to see your coffee out of your nose right there. All right, join us as we celebrate Game of Thrones night on Friday, August 31st. Declare your allegiance to House Targaryen, Stark, Lannister, or Tyrell when you purchase a ticket package and receive an exclusive T-shirt, House Crest. Take a photo on the famous Iron Throne. I've seen that. It's pretty cool. Visit marlins.com/GOT.
Here you go. Swing by and pick up one of these right here. Start there with the roses. That's Tyrell.
Here, I'll hold them for you.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah,
Appreciate you. Lions, Lannister.
Still haven't found the fourth one, have we, huh? One house got shut down.
And the Dire Wolves, Stark, yeah.
we had one house get shut down. Gone. Apparently there was an uprising.
Somewhere in your house, I think.
No, I don't know about that.
Scoreless as we go to the top of the fourth inning. Johan Camargo, Charlie Culberson, and Tyler Flowers against Pablo Lopez. And always fun to talk with Michael Hill. We appreciate his time. And again, we talk about it a lot, but very exciting because as we get towards September, again, not exactly sure who will be up, but that's the time of year where it's always fun to see, you know, some of these guys who you always read the reports, or you see the box scores of these guys. Now actually get to see them.
Right.
Be nice.
It is. It's an exciting time for them as well. And of course, earning their way to the major league level, and you get to see some of those firsts again. We've had a few of them this month as well.
Out to left center field. Dean moving over to make the play.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
Now, Michael Hill brought it up. Certainly worth mentioning once again. Pablo Lopez has worked on that changeup. 2 changeups to Camargo, 2 weak fly balls to left on the changeup.
And it was that weak fly ball into foul territory that helped him get out of that bases loaded 1-out jam in the first. He got Camargo to pop into foul territory, and then he got this man, Charlie Culberson, to ground out. Since then, he has been crisp. Leadoff single in the second, but worked around it. Leadoff single in the third, got a double play ball. Now 1 ball and 1 strike, 1 out for Culberson.
I think it's very interesting getting to talk to Michael Hill. We talked about organizational philosophy. We heard them just last winter say athletes, guys who can play in the middle of the field. You know, of course, the pitching is a universal conversation. Everybody's got to have it in order to win. But we've watched, you know, over this homestand, which I think is a pretty good example, again, going up against the Yankees and the Braves having their number this year. Great curveball from Lopez for out number 2.
That is his second strikeout.
But again, we look at the list and you see the best tools and you realize they're pitching and defense. It certainly stands out. I mean, it's just almost like putting a puzzle together. And when you start to see the pieces, and again, I think we're at the very beginning of this puzzle being put together, but you see them start to come together and how it plays itself out on the field. What's one thing that we've seen from Sierra? Now, I know he went through some, you know, ground ball issues a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking some concentration stuff, but anything in the air, and I think to his defense, I mean, this young man has run down just about everything, and one thing we know he can do is defend in center field. But you look at this ballpark and typically how it plays, I think that may actually, and again, you know, maybe jumping into the future a little bit, getting the offense kind of going again more consistently is going to be probably a little bit bigger challenge, but the acquisition of pitching talent and depth and fast guys who throw hard and can get outs in this ballpark, I think that's starting to come together really quickly.
1-1 to Flowers in there for a called strike. Yeah, we always hear him say layering the talent, and between layering the talent and kind of working up the middle. I mean, championship teams, we talk about this a lot. Championship teams are built up the middle with certainly good pitching. But you have to have a good leader behind home plate. Marlins have that. JT Realmuto, good middle infielders, usually pretty good athletes. Center field, that's kind of the pillars of a good team. Now you multiply that with how the Marlins have tried to revamp the farm system around those guys, loading up the middle, and then guys that may or may not pan out necessarily in center or at short can still play other positions. Or a guy like Monte Harrison, best defensive outfielder in the Southern League.
Who can hit bombs, by the way. There you go.
18 homers, 47 RBIs this minor league season. So that's the thing. You build your farm system up the middle. Great athletes. And with the amount of shifting nowadays, guys don't just play third base anymore. Guys play 72% third base, and half the time they're in short right field.
Well, so these young men are being challenged with understanding and learning, and again, we are probably just at the very beginning of this story. We'll see. I mean, of course, maybe rule changes come, in the game of baseball, but understanding how to do the shifting, where to play. We learned from Rojas. I got to talk to him on the field just the other day. The feel of the game, sensing, hey, listen, I'm going to take a couple more steps because this guy really looks like he wants to pull the ball.
Just realized my math was way off. It said 72% and then half the time. It's just not right. Lopez is right today, though. Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The Cleveland Clinic. Stiff joints, aches and pains. Trust Cleveland Clinic, Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida. And by Simply Healthcare. Live the Simply life. Only way that Todd Hollandsworth will get to the ballpark via cruise ship. Yeah. True or false? True or false? Come on. No. All right, fine. I made that up.
More likely to swim.
2 days a week you drive. The other 5 days it's a cruise ship. Brian Anderson, and then Derek Dietrich and Starlin Castro here in the bottom of the 4th inning against Kevin Gausman. Well, Lopez has been good. Gausman has been just as good. 4 innings of work for Lopez, 4 hits. 3 innings so far for Gausman, just 1 hit. It was Pablo Lopez who singled back in the 3rd. Well, last night, filling up the column, a number of columns, in fact, as a pinch hitter. Hit homer RBI, all in 1 swing.
Well, I'm telling you, Andy started to come around. A little bit of a lull here in the month of August, and it happens to just about every young player. But, that second wind that you sometimes get, I think he's about ready to get it. You've seen it on this homestand. A double, a homer, obviously a couple of RBIs, but 6 for 15 now. Just much better swings and at bats than we were seeing at the beginning of the month. He looks stronger, feels stronger. Look at that foundation. Sometimes you can tell when a guy's, his mannerisms at home plate, kind of where he's at.
I see 3 firsts in the NL rookie ranks. First in runs, hits, and average with runners in scoring position, but very tough competition. Juan Soto and Ronald Acuna Jr. putting up terrific seasons as well. I think if the season ended today, you asked around the country, you probably get one of those 2 guys on the left. But with a month to go, Brian Anderson can certainly, not that he's not in it, but get closer to the top. He strikes out to begin the 4th inning here. And I heard the game last night, Eric Collins and C.J. Nikowski calling the game. They said, you know, what a lot of folks have said. Any other year, if Soto and Acuna Jr. are not in the mix, well, my oh my, he's probably the Rookie of the Year. Andrew Benintendi last year. If not for Aaron Judge, probably the Rookie of the Year.
Well, and let's be fair, right? Listen, Brian Anderson, certainly inside the organization, we all knew how talented he was. I think this has been a bit of a surprise year. I think even for the organization that he's played at such an incredibly high level. I think the other two came in with much more fanfare, if you know what I mean. So a lot of times that's, you know, it's built right into, even if you get kind of close to living up to expectations, you're doing it and you're clearly getting a little bit more attention. Everything that Andy's kind of earned, he's really earned it. Outside of you and me bragging about him just about every day.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. It's a situation where you kind of have to promote the player a little bit more because, you know, he's had a fantastic season, but if you don't tell people about it, they probably don't know.
Well, he figures to stay at third base the rest of the year, barring a double switch here or there. And selfishly, I guess, I don't know if that's even the right word, he'll be at third and not right, where you pointed out he was playing Gold Glove right field.
I argued you right, so I still haven't done that yet. Maybe I'll do that on the flight to Boston, go up and down up to the front of the plane and complain. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. He was putting together, and right, it was fun to actually do. I had really started to put together his body of work defensively, comparing it to the other guys in the National League, and it was a very easy comparison. And of course, we're halfway through August, but with the number of guys he was throwing out, with the balls that he was tracking down, so we were talking range factor, defensive assists, you know, all these things that kind of factor in, at least in my opinion. He's one of your top 3 right fielders in the National League today, and he's playing third base.
Yeah. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Dietrich, who rolls one foul. Get a day off in Boston tomorrow. Back at it on Tuesday. South Florida Honda dealers present Marlins Live, the pregame show. Craig Minervini, Tommy Hutton, and Jeff Nelson from the studio as the Marlins head to Fenway Park. Jose Urena off of the suspension. Brian Johnson goes for the Boston Red Sox. Saw Brian Johnson when the Red Sox were in town back at the beginning of the season. As Dietrich lines one right field, Markakis will track it down. Time for the Chevrolet Prospect Spotlight. Peter O'Brien at AAA, hits in 13 of his last 14 games. This kid has always had big-time power. Formerly a Yankees second-round pick, but from Miami, a Hialeah kid. 29 home runs, 79 RBIs brought into the organization. Don't have the exact date. I want to say it was maybe May-ish, early June, somewhere in there. So he's been with the Marlins organization for a couple of months now. It still continues to do damage. Starman Castro takes a called strike. Castro struck out in the second inning. One of 4 strikeouts this afternoon for Kevin Gausman. And I just want to add one more thing to the Brian Anderson conversation. Certainly hope and I think he's deserving of a Rookie of the Year, but if he does not win the Rookie of the Year, that does nothing to take away what he has done for this particular club this year. You could make a case he is on a short list of Marlins MVPs this year.
I think maybe the way I would say it is you found yourself somebody you're going to build around, and you didn't even know he was here 6 months ago. At least that's the way I see it. I mean, I thought he was going to be a good player, but what he's become in the last 6 months, both as a big leaguer and as a person in that clubhouse, a lot of good things happening for him.
One and two on the way to Castro as that one bounces in.
I'll even go back a couple of nights. Got hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
Turned around, laid the bat down, ran to first base. I'm not saying that in, for somebody out there that's like, I'm not looking for an overreaction. I'm merely, we all knew something was about ready to happen. We didn't know when or where, and it happened, and it happened to him. And how did he handle himself? Like a pro.
th pitch of the day from Gausman is grounded to Camargo at third. And he gets Starlin Castro. A 1-2-3 fourth inning for Gausman in a scoreless game. This ball game going to the top of the fifth inning. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the Miami Marlins. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
No disseminating.
No disseminating. Cannot do that. Inside to Dansby Swanson. Swanson, Gausman, and Acuna Jr. 8-9-1 for the Braves here in the fifth. All three games of this series have been low scoring in some form or fashion. The Braves shut out the Marlins on Thursday 5-0. A 1-0 Marlins win in game 2. Last night was 3-1 Miami, and today scoreless into the top of the fifth. And that's saying something, because this is a Braves team that can put some runs on the board. Well, they did have that series in Pittsburgh prior to this one, front part of their road trip, where they did sweep the Pirates, but I think they scored 2, 6, and 1 in some order. So this is an offense that has scored a ton of runs this year, but over the last week or so has been slowed a little.
Oh, I would bring up this point. I mean, if I were to tell you, and we certainly know this, of course, they don't see the Pirates as much as they see the Marlins, and as much as we've played each other, meaning the Braves and the Marlins, you would not expect to see this at this point of the season series. I mean, this is making in-game adjustments. Yes, I'm sure there's some Braves fatigue. You've mentioned the number of games that they've been playing in, what is it, over their last 20.
Swanson strikes out. Geico presents this day in Major League history. Derek Jeter, just the 3rd player with 100 runs in each of his first 7 seasons. Ted Williams, Earl Phones, part of that group. It was August 26, 2002. There's our CEO, Derek Jeter.
The paths were so different for the 96 Rookies of the Year.
Out front of home plate, Holiday.
7 consecutive seasons of 100 runs scored. I didn't score 100 runs in a season.
Yeah, but you get to hang out with me now.
That's true.
You know, that's all the reward you
Close
need.
seconds.
He only gets to hang out with me here and there.
That's right.
You know, you, boy, when October 1st rolls around, and we're not on the road anymore, I expect to call at least 2-3 times a day.
Oh yeah, you'll be getting it. Just don't hold your breath.
Acuna Jr. with a base hit into left field. Deep down, I think you actually do like me.
Oh, stop yourself. You know, I love you, man.
I know. Kid. Another knock for Ronald Acuna Jr. That is his 2nd of this ball game, so he had already extended his 9-game hit streak, or his hit streak to 9 games against the Miami Marlins. Wilson Ramos with 12 straight games against the Marlins. That's your Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. Ender Inciarte takes the ball outside. Inciarte with a couple of hits, a double in the 1st, and a single in the 3rd was erased on a double play. Runner goes, grounded wide of the first base bag, a ball and a strike. Six multi-hit games this year for Inciarte. Just a little low, 2-1. Lopez trying to complete 5 innings and then some. He's gone at least 5 in each of his starts this year. He's gone at least 6 in 6 of his 9. 3-1. Very consistent in August. 2 earned runs or fewer in 3 of his 4 starts this month. Allowed 1 earned run twice in Philadelphia and his last time out against the Yankees. But he has walked Inciarte. 2 on and 2 out for Freddie Freeman. Second walk this afternoon for Lopez. Had an intentional walk back in the 1st.
We do not want to see any more of the Braves 2-out magic here in the 5th. We've seen it throughout the season series, and his offense has been pretty quiet over their last 26 innings. Only 1 run scored. Series 2 for 19. Runners in scoring position. Both those hits came in the opener of the series.
StatCast AI is powered by AWS. The distribution of balls in play on the ground for Freddie Freeman. That's why the Marlins have 3 on the right side with 2 outs. Freeman takes a called strike. Freeman sends this one out to left center field. A can of corn for Sierra. Freeman 0 for 3 today. Lopez threw 5 crisp innings.
Sixth inning, players having fun with the Players Weekend. Some guys have dressed up their shoes, some guys on the arms of their jerseys, and many of them with their bats. It does have to be approved ahead of time. Like Brian Holiday was very proud of this by the bat company Warstick. Ian Kinsler and some other buddies involved in this company, and they gave it a look. You know, looks a little like maybe back to school there on the end of the bat. He enjoyed it. He says, got some hits in it. I said, boy, you've been on a good run, but he's putting it into play today. Austin Dean also, he had a great bat with the state of Texas on the end of it, but it was not approved. He was called up, obviously, recently, and some of this has some legwork. He got paperwork to fill out. He didn't get a name on there. He had Dean on the back because of just the timing, guys. This is obviously planned out. Bat companies have to get bats to players and so on, but all in all, everybody enjoys it, I think, from the little leaguers on to us.
Yes, absolutely, Craig. It's cool to see. Even the guy in the box right now, JT Riddle, with the spikes that he's had these 3 days. Couldn't get the Riddler on the back of the jersey because of copyright infringement or laws or what have you, but could get the Riddler on the spikes. He takes a called strike, 1 and 2. Riddle, Dean, and Holiday due up here in the 5th. How crazy would you have gotten with any of it? The spikes, the batting gloves, the bat?
I probably wouldn't get very crazy. I mean, it's a great question that you're asking me because I'm going to give you 2 answers. I'm going to give you my player answer, which is I wouldn't have probably done much. And my 45-year-old answer that now that I've lived out my years in my career, and if I had to do it all over again, would have been a lot more creative, because that's much more my personality now than when I played the game. And again, I was a byproduct of a generation that was like, act like you've been there before, as opposed to kind of embracing the moment, celebrating the moment, not just openly, but even with the fans. It was always like, you know, whatever you did, act like you've done it before. So it was tight-lipped, and it was, run around the bases, and you didn't, but well, I'll tell you right now, you flip the bat in my generation, you got one in your hip pocket. It's almost a guarantee. So it was different. It was a different time. But now that I see this play out, I do, when somebody says, hey, well, if you could change one thing about yourself, I would have been more expressive. I love the fact that they are. I love to see these guys, these kids today, play the game the way that they play it, the passion that they play it, and the way that they express it. I think it's an awful lot of fun.
Cut on and missed by Dean, 1-1. Austin with a fly ball out to center field back in the second inning. Of course, that always dovetails into the discussion of, well, you got to play the game the right way and you can't show up the opposing player, but there are ways to do it. There are ways. A lot
of misinterpretation between every. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the answer that you're looking for is to try to, so people understand. A lot of times, the guy's celebrating his moment, and it's being misunderstood on the mound, if you know what I mean. And I guess maybe the right way to say it is that if you can celebrate it in the box, you should be able to celebrate it on the mound. And I think that if everybody understands that, listen, maybe it's a big moment, and it's, you're celebrating it. Cooler minds, cooler heads will prevail, I suppose.
Well, there is one relationship that every time they match up, Adrian Beltre and Felix Hernandez.
Right.
Every time those guys go head to head, there's always something going on. Whether it's Beltre chirping from the dugout to Felix on the mound, or Beltre's over at third and Felix is yelling at him, or down goes Dean. Lost his footing there. I think a couple of weeks ago, Felix struck him out and started laughing at him.
Yeah, and I also believe he gave up a home run to him this year, too.
Yeah.
First time in his career, I think, if I remember that correctly. But you're right. And hey, listen, not every relationship's going to be that strong or be that way. But my point merely is, as long as you're not showing up the other team, or you're, throwing, those signs of that energy towards the dugout that is trying to get that attention, it should be understood that celebrating your moments is okay.
Dean chased that one and is tagged out. 2 away.
Join the Marlins for the biggest watch party of the season, presented by Corona Light. The Marlins take on the Boston Red Sox, Tarpon Bend and Coral Gables, Wednesday, August 29th, 6:35 p.m. Music by DJ Vertigo. Meet Billy the Marlin in giveaways and prizes, and enjoy food and drink specials throughout the weekend. Day. It's just one day. Just one day. Somehow a weekend got in there. Not sure how that happened.
We've discussed this a number of times, and I think by now you know me, but early part of the season I would say, oh, what's today, Wednesday? And you're like, no, today's Saturday. But it's got nothing to do. You'll find me when I'm not doing anything for a couple of months, I won't know what day of the week it is. It's just not one of my strong suits.
It's a good
to know the days of the week. I know there are 7 of them, and I know the order. I just don't know which one I'm currently living.
You don't have that kind of job, buddy.
Right. If it's a day game, it's probably a Sunday. It could be a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Speaking of day games, how did I get in the start this afternoon? He's been on a pretty good run. 7 for 21 here in the month of August. Good production with the bat. He's not gotten a whole lot of starts behind the plate. Mentioned in the open, just his first start since August 19th.
Struck out back in the third. Gosman's got 5 Ks through 4 2/3 innings. awaits on deck. Inside. Take by Holiday. He's aboard with 2 outs in the 5th. The first walk issued by Gausman. I'll bring up Sierra. Struck out looking in the 3rd.
Marlins only 1 hit in the ball game. It's off the bat of pitcher Pablo Lopez in the 3rd. He's hit to center field.
The 0-2 pitch is inside, 96 miles an hour. Ball and 2 strikes. Still a long ways to go, but 8 innings 5 times this year for Gausman. 10 times in his career. He gets through 5 innings here as Sierra grounds out. Through 5 innings, scoreless, Braves and Marlins. For baseball, Kendrys Morales has done it yet again. 7 straight games with a home run, surpassing Matt Carpenter, who had homered in 6 straight games earlier this season. So he joins Kevin Mensch, Barry Bonds, and Jim Thome, who have homered in 7 straight games. Ken Griffey Jr., Dale Long, and Don Mattingly hold the major league record, 8 straight games with a homer. There's the skipper. Let's flash you back. This was number 8 back in Texas in 1987. Phil Rizzuto, holy cow! 8 straight games with a homer. That is some kind of locked in. And Kendrys Morales up to 7 right now.
Well, and you saw Donnie running around the bases right there. You didn't see like the fist pumps and everything else, right? And I mean, again, this is no indictment at all. I'm just saying different. It's kind of my point.
Right.
Of course, he was actually running around the bases like he'd done it before.
Yes, he had. He had done it quite a bit. In that 8-game stretch, 8 consecutive games with a homer, he hit .459 with 10 home runs and 21 RBIs.
He's tired.
Wow. It's pretty good. One's outside to Nick Markakis, Johan Camargo, and Charlie Culberson to follow. A scoreless game here in the top of the 6th. Getaway day for both of these teams. The Atlanta Braves have a much needed day off tomorrow. 22 games in 20 days. They had, of course, the doubleheader in Atlanta against the Marlins a couple of weeks ago, and less than a week prior to that they played a doubleheader in Washington D.C. So they squeezed those extra games in there. So they are off tomorrow. They are home for the Rays for 2 games, a makeup date with the Cubs, and 3 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Before the Red Sox come to town in Atlanta September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The Marlins off to Boston after this one, as Markakis earns the walk to lead off the 6th inning. Jorge Guzman, one of the guys that the Marlins acquired from the New York Yankees, the best fastball in the Florida State League. And if we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times. He throws 100 miles an hour.
And he hides the ball well, too. You
Yeah.
see his mechanics there. Closed off on the front side. So, again, almost anticipate, as a hitter, some deception.
Dietrich will take it himself. Up to second goes Markakis. So 1 out. Again, inside the Marlins, building the future comes up after the post-game show. Now for Guzman, in the minor leagues this year, 90 1/3 innings pitched, 97 strikeouts. So a little more than a strikeout per inning. Started 20 games this year. There's a strike. Of course, the Atlanta Braves in first place in the National League East, and they are doing that on the strength certainly of guys that they have acquired, like a Charlie Culberson, who's filled in here and there, but also guys that have come through their system. Certainly the seasoned veteran in Freddie Freeman, but Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. The importance of building through your farm system, and sometimes, listen, the Marlins made some trades that were difficult to digest for sure this past offseason in hopes of fattening up the farm system a little bit. The Braves have made some trades too along the way. I mean, Jason Hayward, Evan Gattis, the list goes on and on. The only guy that they hung on to was Freddie Freeman. This one gets away from Holiday, but not far enough for Markakis to advance. So sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions, but you know, at the end of the day, look at where the Braves are. That's certainly where the Marlins hope to be.
Well, I think they're asking probably that same question about themselves. The Marlins are moving forward. Where JT Realmuto fits into that question, or I guess the answer. Yeah, probably the better way of saying it. You know, is JT Realmuto Marlins version, or version of Freddie Freeman that he is to the Atlanta Braves?
So they traded Hayward to St. Louis, Kimbrel and Upton to San Diego, Andrelton Simmons to the Angels, Evan Gattis to Houston, Shelby Miller to Arizona, and Freeman stayed through a 95-loss season, a 93-loss season, 90 losses last year. assuming the Braves get one more win before the end of the regular season, they will surpass last year's win total.
Think of players like Freddie Freeman, if they do get to where you're describing, the satisfaction that a player feels having lived through the down and getting to enjoy the up. A lot of players don't get that. A lot of times that's a journey in there that's documented over the course of time, but the players themselves come and go.
Right back to Lopez, who freezes Markakis in the dirt, but dug out by Dietrich.
Nice job by Dietrich covering that punt at first base. My goodness. Let's take another look. All right, breaking ball. It's been a good pitch against Culberson, but comes up a little short. Got the ball in hand, foot on the bag. Well done. Not even sure the glove was even part of that.
Just smother it, that's all. Here is Tyler Flowers. Takes a called strike. Flowers a strikeout back in the 4th inning. One of 4 strikeouts this afternoon for Lopez.
Yeah, Lopez has got great rhythm going right now with the breaking ball. It's been a great lead pitch to the righties. Might be able to argue, maybe Pablo will talk about that at the end of the day whenever that comes, but the point being that think back to the first 2 pitches of the ball game. Changeup and a curveball to Acuna to start the ball game. And where that curveball and where that changeup is at now, having been established so early in the ball game.
It was in that 1st inning. He gave up a base hit to Acuna, and then the double to Inciarte. Thought, well, this could be where the Braves get back on track offensively. But he got Freeman to ground back to the mound. They walked Markakis to load the bases. A fly ball, a ground out. And I'm sure for a young pitcher making just his 10th start, that boost of confidence has taken him a long way. Trying to get through 6 innings for the 7th time in those 10 starts. He's at 96 pitches now, and his spot will lead off the bottom of the 6th inning. Through the left side, a base hit. Waved around Markakis. Here comes Dean's throw from left. A little off the mark. Flowers up to second. And RBI, and the Braves are on the board first.
Well, Lopez did everything in his power to put Flowers away with the breaking ball. Was unable to do it. Ends up coming back with the fastball. And Flowers' second base hit of the game drives in the first run of the game. Markakis running with 2 outs. They're going to try and score that run. Dean has got to get that ball down. Throw much too high. Missed the cutoff man. Flowers able to move into scoring position here in the 6th with 2 outs.
And Swanson will be intentionally walked. But the 56th 2-out run scored by the Braves against the Marlins this year. That is going to get Gausman out of the game. Rio Ruiz will pinch hit. Well, not that the Braves bullpen has been easy to solve this year by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll tell you what, Gausman getting him out of the game with 3 cracks left, that's important.
Well, and the Braves would tell you that's why Ruiz is pinch hitting. We've seen how the series is played. We've got to fight and scrap for as many runs as we can get right now, and they've got a chance with a couple of guys on. Ruiz recalled today, AAA Gwinnett. Chris Stewart was designated for assignment. This is his first time with the Braves this season. Was hitting .269, 25 doubles, 9 homers, and 72 RBIs in 126 games. AAA. You know, sometimes you know how a baseball game will create a moment, a pivot point. We are in it right now.
This is it. We are pivoting. This is pitch number 100 for Pablo Lopez. 3 balls and no strikes to Ruiz with Acuna Jr. on deck. And they are loaded for the youngster. Third walk of the inning, one of them intentional. And that is going to do it for Pablo Lopez this afternoon. Don Mattingly out. Make the double switch. The Florida Lottery called the bullpen. Javi Guerra in with the bases juiced. Got the bases loaded, 2 outs here in the top of the 6th inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth, glad that you're with us on a Sunday afternoon. Last of 19 meetings between Atlanta and Miami this year. The new Monopoly jackpot scratch-offs from the Florida Lottery are a new spin on a classic. They're loaded with prizes from $10,000 to $2 million. So unleash the excitement anytime. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. So Pablo Lopez, who was cruising into the 6th inning, gives way with the bases loaded for Javi Guerra, and Isaac Galloway, the other half of the double switch, takes over in center field. So they'll move the pitcher spot up 1 as Guerra takes over 23rd game, and he will get Ronald Acuna Jr.
You know, it's again a pivot point in this ballgame. 5.09 ERA for Guerra on the season. Last 2 times out, once against the Yankees, well, once against the Braves as well. Scoreless. Only one strikeout and no walks his last 2 times. So good stuff. He's inherited 11 base runners coming into today. Has stranded 9 of them. 82%.
love to strand 3 more. Acuna a couple of hits today, a single in the first, single in the 5th. All 3 of the runners, of course, belong to Pablo Lopez, as that one is fouled straight back. 1-2. 5 2/3, 6 hits, 5 walks. 2 of them were intentional. And 4 strikeouts for Lopez. One-two pitch in the air, right field. Ortega will have room on the edge of the track, and Guerra gets out of it. The line complete now for Lopez. Marlins down a run. Intervening, Kelly Sacco, the gang's all here. Some furry friends along for the ride as well. A 1-0 Braves lead as they hand things over to Jesse Biddle. Went to pinch hit for Kevin Gausman, so they get him out. Marlins do essentially. 5 innings, a hit, a walk, 5 strikeouts. So it's Biddle in his 45th game this year. He'll face Isaac Galloway. And then the top of the order, Rafael Ortega and Brian Anderson here in the 6th.
Biddle's done a very nice job for the Atlanta Braves out of the bullpen this season.
Galloway has done a nice job trying to make the most of the opportunities that he has been given. See the 300 average. 9 hits, 1 of them a home run.
Well, for Biddle, his last 3 appearances scoreless. He's more than an inning 13 times this season. Maybe he has to do that today. We'll see.
Galloway broke his bat on the foul ball. 2-1. That is the strategy of the National League, isn't it? I mean, a month and a half ago, whenever it was that Gausman was pitching in the American League, a game like that, you think he might be cruising to the finish line. He's gone 8 innings 10 times in his career, a handful of times in 2018. So you know he's got it in him. But again, the game kind of in the balance, and the way that the lineup shakes out in this particular situation in a National League style, Brian Snitker has to go to the pen.
Well, the key was he went for it offensively.
documented over the last few days how runs have been hard to come by, really, for both teams. But the point being that Atlanta Braves have been scuffling just a bit. So he finally had a runner in scoring position and went for it. Thought it was worth it. Sent Ruiz up there, a bit of an unknown to the Marlins. Essentially, that's the matchup that he wanted, so he got it, and Ruiz ends up walking. That's where the dynamic ultimately ends up changing itself around.
This Braves bullpen has been effective against the Marlins this season. A 1.71 ERA, 185 batting average against. Isaac Galloway improves the on-base percentage with a leadoff walk in the 6th.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
First time that the Marlins have the leadoff man on as Dan Winkler loosens in the Braves bullpen. Ortega rolls one up the first baseline, but turns foul.
Yeah, that was nearly a thing of beauty. It almost went for a, well, what he was looking for, at least to move Galloway up, but at the same time, potentially a hit. Did not go foul by much.
Ortega 0 for 2 today, but does have a hit in 12 of his first 15 games, 15 full games, that is, with the Marlins.
Little four-seam fastball, slider, curve. This is the slider curve combination of both lefties and righties.
Sends one out left center field. Acuna Jr. with the sliding play. Thought for a second that might have a chance to either get down or get into the gap. But Acuna Jr. closes ground and makes the Bonefish Grill fresh catch up the day.
Yeah. Nice job getting himself into position. Just the liberty that you have, lefty on lefty. And what I'm talking about is Ortega shooting one that way. That ball is going to tail back to your left fielder. So ideally you want to see make the catch there, and he does just that, make the catch.
And then his luggage went flying. I think he lost some gloves and a wrist brace out there too.
You're not a big fan of what he's storing in his back pockets, are you?
I just think it's fascinating that he doesn't need to carry on. Everything he owns is in his back pockets.
Everybody's got their own style. I've seen it a million. Most kids today have them.
Love it. It wouldn't be a story if he didn't lose it twice this year. That's all.
Right. He's got to have the brace, the batting gloves, well, he's got his wristbands on. But yeah, I'm with you. It's a lot. But
just saying, he's already quick, terrific athlete. He'd be much quicker if he wasn't carrying 15 pounds of sporting goods in his back pocket. Anderson taps this one foul. Still 0-2.
Well, I personally love it. And when I was a kid, I wanted as much gear as I possibly could get my hands on. The problem was we just didn't have enough of it. These guys today, they get a lot of it, so use it. You got it.
That's true. Well, you got some athletes at home. I got a son starting.
Oh yeah,
Little League now. We went to the store and, you know,
it's a lot more fun to get it for free.
Oh yes, without a doubt. Walk out of the sporting goods store with bags and bags and bags. It's like, really? Sure. Hey.
You gotta have stolen base. Yeah, you gotta have base stealing gloves now. That's the way it works.
You don't want to get them dirty.
That's right.
I get it. I was that guy. I get it. Anderson, right field line, and just foul. Here we go. Here we go. Nope. strike 3 at the top of the zone as we check in with Kelly Sacco.
Thanks, Paul. Well, on the right sleeve of the player's jersey is a patch for them to dedicate to someone that has been instrumental to their development of their career. Well, Derek Dietrich decided to go a slightly different route. On his jersey is Abner Doubleday, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the name, no, it's not a family member, and no, it's not an old coach. Abner Doubleday was actually an officer in the United States Army who fired the first shots of the Civil War. He also played a pivotal role in the Battle of Gettysburg. So why did Dietz choose Doubleday? Well, legend has it he was the inventor of the great game of baseball. So Dietrich figured, hey, if it wasn't for him, none of us would even be here.
Yes, Kelly, thank you very much. In fact, Abner Doubleday's gravesite is at Arlington National Cemetery, and when we had the off day in D.C. a week or so ago, went there and checked it out.
What'd you learn?
I learned that it was hot that day and it was a long walk and I was going in the wrong direction for a little while.
All right, that's what I learned.
Of course, there is Doubleday Field in Cooperstown. That's where it comes from. Ball and a strike to Dietrich.
Hey.
1 for 3 in his career against Biddle. With a couple of fly balls in this ball game, 0 for 2. Runner goes. This one rolled up the first base line. Freeman will tag Dietrich. And that's how the 6th inning ends. Marlins down 1-0. Here at Marlins Park. Join the Marlins and Major League Baseball in the fight against childhood cancer on Saturday, September 1st, as the Marlins take on the Blue Jays. Arrive early and receive a Go Gold hat. A portion of the proceeds will benefit local childhood cancer organizations in South Florida. Visit marlins.com/go gold today. Ender Inciarte to lead things off in the 7th. Inciarte, Freeman, and Markakis against Javi Guerra, who got Ronald Acuna Jr. to fly out to right field to get out of a bases loaded jam left by Pablo Lopez, whose line is complete. 5 2/3, 6 hits, a run, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. Strike from Guerra, 0-1 to Inciarte, who's been on base all 3 times today. A double in the first, a single in the third, and a walk in the 5th. That's Dietrich. He will take it himself for the first out. Time for the Toyota inside look. We've talked a lot about Freddie Freeman and his terrific numbers against the Marlins this season. Historic in terms of hits. 29 hits to tie Chris Johnson and Jason Hayward, who each had 29 hits against the Marlins back in 2014. They have kept him in check for the most part this series, however. He is 0 for 3 today, including ground ball double play back in the 3rd.
No, right. First time we kind of ran across that one, we probably felt like he was going to race by it and put that record to rest. It was going to be his for a while. Not so. 2 for 13 in the series.
Well, Freeman's cooled off a little bit over the course of the last week plus. Just 8 for his last 37. Up the middle, and that's Riddle. That's the 3rd time that he has hit a soft ground ball right either to the pitcher or through the box.
Well, that timing just off a bit. The Marlins, you'd like to keep it there.
Nick Markakis, a couple of walks today, 1 intentional. That one was back in the 1st, but also walked in the 6th and came around to score the only run of this game. So flew out back in the 3rd inning. Walks have improved his on-base percentage, getting it up there to 375. Between Straley, Chen, and Lopez, just 1 earned run in the last 17 2/3 innings against the Atlanta Braves. Ball that just missed at the top of the zone, 3-1.
That's back-to-back changeups from Guerra. First one above the zone, that one right at the line.
Out to shallow left center field. That one's going to get down. Dean cuts in front of Galloway, and it's a 2-out single for Nick Markakis to keep the 7th inning alive. Johan Camargo steps in, 0 for 3 today. Cut on and missed, and it's 0-2.
Some real good depth on this breaking ball. Starts out in the zone. And keeps it in front as it finds the dirt. It's ideally the type of breaking ball you love to throw. It's enough the hitter's instincts, that intuition to swing and get it out of the zone as quickly as possible.
Braves have their own business to worry about here in Miami, leading 1-0. They are holding off the Phillies by 3 games. Phillies up 5-2 in Toronto right now in the top of the 7th inning. See the Blue Jays on the next homestand after the short 2-game road trip up to Boston Tuesday and Wednesday night. Days off on either side of that 2-game series. Next stop, as I mentioned, Boston. The Red Sox trailing the Rays 6-1. That game in the bottom of the 6th inning. See Brian Johnson and David Price, the 2 starting pitchers at Fenway Park. In fact, it's now 7-1. In that game, Blake Snell, 6 innings, 2 hits, a run, 8 strikeouts. His ERA is currently at 2.05. Blake Snell has certainly pitched his name into the Cy Young discussion in the American League. Nationals and Mets, it's 1-0 through 7 at Citi Field. The Nationals hadn't scored in a month and a half, 2 months. Something like that, right? What's the actual number?
Ended at 32 innings.
32 innings. Okay. They have a 1-0 lead over Steven Matz, who struck out 7 in 7 innings of work. As Javi Guerra strikes out Johan Camargo to end the top of the 7th inning. A 1-run affair as we stretch at Marlins Park. At the Park Sunday as the Braves lead this one 1-0. They've got 7 hits. Marlins only have the 1, but the all-important run column, it is very tight, as has been over the course of this entire series. A 5-0 win for the Atlanta Braves in the opener. Marlins won the next 2 games to snap a 7-game losing streak against the Atlanta Braves. As we check in with Kelly Sacco.
Thanks, Paul. Well, I'm joined here with the Executive Director of the Humane Society of Greater Miami, Lori, and she's joined here with Gracie, who is sporting, exactly, big Marlins fan. She's sporting her Marlins t-shirt. So although this is a great day here at the ballpark, you could bring your dogs and have some fun. It actually also helps the Humane Society of Greater Miami. How does it do so?
Oh, absolutely. We've been doing this with the Marlins for like 10 or 15 years. And all the proceeds from the doggy tickets comes to the Humane Society. Half of the raffle that they do comes to the Humane Society. Tito's has supported the Humane Society today, and it's just a great, great event.
So not just a fun day at the ballpark, we're doing a lot of good for the Humane Society of Greater Miami. Gracie also was a dog that was adopted, correct?
Yes, I adopted her at the Humane Society 7 years ago, and I've seen so many Humane Society alumni. So it's so amazing to see people adopt dogs, bring them to the baseball game, watch the Marlins, raise money, and it's just a great day.
It really has been. So a great day here, guys. A lot of good. You got Gracie, and actually a couple dogs behind us too were also adopted from the Humane Society of Greater Miami. Back to you guys.
Kelly, thank you so much. Yeah, certainly a fun event, and certainly lots of pooches around the ballpark, all over the place. Even some Braves fans. We even let the Braves fans, the four-legged Braves fans in. That's okay. Bring them in.
The other dogs were snarling at that dog.
Yes, I didn't say they got along. I just said that they were here. They were allowed in. Dan Winkler takes over. His 58th game, pitching to a 2.58 ERA. The opponent batting average at 2.06, and well over a strikeout per inning for the righty, who will face Starlin Castro, JT Riddle, and Austin Dean in a one-run game here in the 7th.
Has been getting it done from the right side. Four-seam fastball, slider, and a cut fastball as well. Throws that at about 90-91 miles an hour. It's a big pitch for him. Throws it more than any other pitch.
Castro fouls the first pitch off. He is 0 for 2 today. A strikeout and a ground out. Castro, left center field, falling fast. Acuna Jr. lays out and makes the catch. And he comes up holding his left hand or wrist.
But a smile on his face, so I think he's going to be all right. Well, another example of Acuna Jr.'s passion for the game, athleticism on display. Picks this one right off the outfield grass. Had what, maybe an inch to spare?
Yeah, just able to get the fingers of the glove underneath that ball. Heck of a play. If that one falls, it might be extra bases for Castro. So one out for JT Riddle. Of ground outs today for JT. Three multi-hit games over his last 8, not including today, but it's 10 for his last 30. 2 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs. Balls in the strike to Riddle, who will test Acuna Jr. This one much easier for the second out of the inning. Well, Another one of the acquired youngsters, the best tools in the minor leagues, according to Baseball America, Jose Devers, best defensive shortstop in the South Atlantic League. Got 12 doubles this year, 26 RBIs, hitting .272 across a couple of levels of the minor leagues. We welcome you inside the broadcast booth. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth. The reason why we've been talking so much about the minor leagues of the Marlins is because after the post-game show today, again, Inside the Marlins, building the future coming up, and certainly Devers, one of the guys that we'll be focusing in on.
Well, it's a fun journey, and I think for Marlins fans, tune in, watch this show if you're really interested in finding out how the process starts and how you develop these younger players. You see them a little bit on their journey to the big leagues, and again, it's so interesting to me because there's so many stories that get told. We talk levels of improvement, things that they're working on. Michael Hill even went there, talking about Pablo Lopez and the development of the changeup, what he needed to do. Sandy Alcantara, same conversation. Yes, he's got one of the most dominant fastballs in the minor leagues. Could probably be up here just blowing it by guys right now, but the idea is that he needs to work on a few things.
Dean with a sharply hit ground ball, but right to Freddie Freeman. And a 1-2-3-7, 1-0 Braves. Game 1-0 as we move to the top of the 8th inning, last of 19 meetings between the Braves and the Marlins. Speaking of things finishing, the Coors Light refreshing finish, David Bodie with another home run. It's like this is all he's been doing.
And he does it with 2 strikes all the time. I'm so amazed at this. From the grand slam to the slider he hit out at the beginning of the series. It was on an 0-2 pitch. This on a 1-2 pitch. 94. And then a musical chairs breaks out to be the security guard.
Terrific. That's
I loved musical chairs. It was a great game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if you're quick enough.
You feel like the kind of guy that would nudge people out of the way.
Really? I come across that way, huh?
I mean, you're a great guy. Don't get me wrong. Nice guy. I'm just saying.
Guaranteed.
You're put together.
Anybody.
Kind of guy that maybe doesn't know his own strength. That's all.
I would definitely throw an elbow into just about anybody.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you're not nice. I'm saying you're competitive. And most times the strongest guy in the room, probably. That's all.
That's why it was one of my favorite games when I was a kid growing up.
Just imposing your will on other 6-year-olds.
I think I just took it more seriously. One of the most important things of my preschool afternoon.
Absolutely. Wait till you hear the finger painting story. Oh my goodness. Throwing stuff around the room. Charlie Culberson on to lead things off against Drew Rosinski. Tyler Flowers, a couple of hits today, including an RBI. Back to the screen, 0-1. Flowers only had 5 hits against the Marlins in 29 at-bats coming into today, but as I mentioned, a couple of knocks. He was also 1 for 20 before for the 2 for 3 thus far. Brzezinski pitched in last night's ball game. A strikeout in 2/3 of an inning. Blowing in, a ball and a strike. Brzezinski has faced Flowers twice, struck him out once. Flowers 0 for 2. On the ground wide of the third base bag.
Good double play opportunity here. Overson doesn't run much. 4 for 6 on the season.
Marlins turn their 111th double play back in the 3rd inning. Right middle of the pack in Major League Baseball as Brad Brock is up. Another one of those acquisitions from the Baltimore Orioles, like today's starter Kevin Gausman. Also traded for Darren O'Day. He's out with a hamstring injury, going to miss the rest of this season, but they have another weapon in their bullpen next year. Runner goes, and that one is fouled toward the Marlins dugout. Back to first goes Culberson. 1 run on 8 hits, no errors for the Braves. No runs, 1 hit. Pablo Lopez single for the Marlins today. No errors on the ledger for Miami. Flowers RBI single in the 6th that brought home Nick Markakis, the only run of the afternoon. Got a piece of Flowers, 2 on and nobody out.
This is the split finger at 85 miles an hour, catches that front elbow. Certainly sets the table for the Braves here in the 8th. And Albies lurking. Didn't make the start today. There's probably an opportunity for him late. There he is. In fact, he's on the on-deck circle.
But first, Dansby Swanson. Popped up in the second, struck out in the fifth, and was intentionally walked in the sixth. Bunts that one foul toward the on-deck circle. 0-1. Swanson had a season-high 8-game hit streak earlier this week. Snapped that with an 0 for 3 on Thursday. Again, had the home run last night. The only run the Braves scored. Talked earlier about some of those trades that the Braves had to make in order to either fortify their farm system or their team overall. Swanson one of them as he lays down the bunt. Anderson's strong throw gets him at first base. They gave up Shelby Miller. They got Dansby Swanson.
Well, that could not have been a more perfect bunt by Swanson, setting the table for Albies. 3 for 3 pinch hitting this season.
Be any thought to putting him on base here?
Well, they're going to pitch to him very, very carefully, knowing that they've got a back door. If he'll expand his zone. Of course, Albie's struggling just a little bit lately. August has been a different month. Shown the willingness to go outside of his own strike zone and chase just a bit. I think you'll see Marlins hopefully go at him, making borderline, if not worse, pitches off the edges. The idea that Albies might expand his zone.
Acuna Jr. on deck. Inside, a ball and the strike. Albies hit .293 the first month of the season. Swings and misses 1 and 2. .293 in March and April. .264 in May. .269 in June. Got it up to .304 in July, but all the way down to .232 here in August.
Fewest home runs, fewest RBIs. Really struggled with the righties.
Nice job by Holiday to keep it in front. Of course, the pressure on Holiday with Ruzinski's bread and butter, that split finger fastball. Just knock it down, keep it close, and keep Culberson at third. Two pitch. Go upstairs and miss. 3 and 2. With Acuna Jr. looming. Here comes the payoff pitch. Misses low, and they are loaded for Ronald Acuna Jr.
Well, now this is where it gets a bit dangerous, but of course Rucinski's got the double play in order. It's the ground ball. Marlins will try to turn 2. Let's see. Guess that they're actually going to try and cut that run off at home.
Got the infield in, and Castro is in fact playing in front of Tyler Flowers over there at second base. Ball inside, 1-0. Couple of hits today for Acuna Jr. Couple of nice defensive plays out and left as well. On the ground, Dietrich with it. He'll come home. That's a force. It gets by as Culberson slid into Holiday, and 2 runs will score on the play.
You had a collision at home. After the backhand by Dietrich, Holiday thrown into a bit of a fortunate position. Not a good throw. It's going to get by Holiday. He's trying to play it like a first baseman with his foot, right foot on home plate. Culberson comes across. There's contact. Ball gets away. Rucinski doing his job by covering first. So there's no backup for your backstop.
So an error on Dietrich and 2 runs score. Braves now in front 3-0. And Ciarte squares, pulls it back, and it's 1-0. I guess you could ask the question, did Culberson go out of his way to draw some contact on Holiday?
I don't believe so. I mean, it was the way that the play was developing. Of course, as I mentioned, Holiday he's not covering or guarding home like a catcher. He actually ends up playing it like a first baseman because that's the right thing. The ball's coming in as a shortstop. Now watch this. So he reaches up. You see where his left leg is, and he reaches forward. I think they're just incidental contact. You know, he's got every right to slide in. Kind of catches him on the backside more than anything. So Holiday not hurt. Don't see anything wrong with the play. What's unfortunate is that Rucinski, who was doing his job by getting over to first base, not in position. Ball gets by, another run scores.
First and third here for the Braves, up 3-0. Ball and a strike to Inciarte. A single, a hit by pitch, a sac bunt, and then a walk and an error. Brought home 2 runs. Has extended this lead for the Braves. Ciarte has reached base 3 times today, a double in the first, a single in the third. He walked in the 5th and grounded out to Dietrich in the 7th. Two pitch coming. Runner goes from first. Holiday bluffed the throw to third. And the Braves have 2 in scoring position. 2-2 on the way is grounded foul. Marlins will have Holiday, the pitcher spot, and Galloway due up in the 8th inning. Brad Brock has been throwing this entire time in the Braves bullpen. Ciarte out to left. Albies tags. Dean comes up throwing and safe. Up to third goes Acuna Jr. Another look.
And Albies is just going to cross home before Holiday reaches back and catches him on the back leg. Back of that right leg. Good throw by Dean. It was accurate.
This is an umpire review because the Marlins do not have challenges left. They attempted a challenge earlier in the ball game on the double by Ciarte. Either way, they'll get another look at this, and I do not believe that there would be enough to overturn it. Is in fact safe. So now a 4-0 Braves lead.
I'll take one more look. Holiday again, nice job securing the catch and that reach back, but Albies able to get the right arm across home plate. I'll tell you, his time was pretty good. Not always easy to do. Get that good first step when you've got a left fielder who's shallow coming in and you know that he's coming right at you. Timed it up just right. No wasted movement, no wasted steps. Good accurate throw by Dean.
So now it's Freddie Freeman. 0 for 4 today. Acuna Jr. over at third as Freeman takes outside. Braves have scored 3 runs in this inning, and it's not like they've hit the ball all over the yard.
Well, they've had productive outs. If you go all the way back to the Swanson sack, which was a really good bunt, set things up, then you've got Ciarte, sacrifice fly, you know, doing the job, pitch tailing away from him just enough to get it deep enough to get the next run across. Obviously, the error certainly didn't help things.
Inside to Freeman, 3 balls and no strikes. To Freeman. He was right smack dab in the middle of that 8-year, $135 million contract that he signed with the Braves. Signed that back in 2014. Under contract with them 19, 20, 21. Cut on and missed. And an 0 for 5 day for Freeman, but a 3-run 8th for the Braves. have created a tough hill to climb for the Marlins.
The MLB at Bat mobile app brings every baseball moment to your favorite devices. Catch it all season with free MLB.tv game of the day, live radio broadcast, in-game highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today.
Ozzie Albies stays in the ball game, takes over at second base as Brad Brock is on the mound here in the 8th inning. Marlins now down 4-0. Brian Holiday takes a called strike. Holiday and then Miguel Rojas, who is in the on-deck circle, figures to hit for the pitcher, and then Isaac Galloway to up third. 55th game for B-Rad. Holiday, left field line, but looking foul.
Brock's done a very nice job for the Braves out of the bullpen. Just 1 earned run, 12 appearances.
They check, no swing. Holiday a strikeout in the 3rd and a walk in the 5th. Gausman went the first 5 innings, gave up 1 hit. That's the only hit that the Marlins have today. And it was a Pablo Lopez single in the 3rd. Called strike 3.
.94-mile-an-hour fastball finds the bottom of the zone. Number 1 here in the 8th. Rojas now in the box, 3 for 13 this season, pinch hitting, does have a couple RBIs.
For those of you that saw the pregame show today, either heard from Miguel Rojas directly, who was live on the set, or saw parts of the piece that you guys did the other day, and in its entirety, a 12-minute version of that will be posted on FoxSportsFlorida.com tomorrow. But just kind of bouncing around the infield.
Great stuff. kind of documenting, what his daily routine is from third to short. Of course, it included second base the other night and first. Time and effort that he puts into knowing the positions, which ones he likes more than others. And oh, by the way, the solid offensive season, of course, the home runs we love talking about because he's just exploded this year with 10 of them. And incorporating all of that into a successful season.
And we've heard him credit that the increase in regular playing time to the increase in home runs. He only had 4 in his career leading up to this season. He's got 10 in 2018 alone. Fouls that one back. As he said on the pregame show today, that you get more at bats, you start to get into your own rhythm, you start to learn the pitchers more and what they're going to do to you in different scenarios.
Certainly makes sense. One thing that I picked up on even from last year watching him hit, how much more under control he is in the box. Takes his time a lot more. You can tell he's very cerebral. He's thinking things through. He's playing the game.
Grounds this one to second base. Albies for out number 2. Mickey Rowe was on the pregame show, but the W.B. Mason Marlins Live postgame show comes your way at the end of this one. Craig Minervini, Tommy Hutton, Jeff Nelson. School's out there with him right now. Here from Don Mattingly before the team heads north to Boston. Hello. Day off tomorrow, 2 games at Fenway Park, and then another day off Thursday before September begins. See expanded rosters in September as well. Isaac Galloway hit for Pablo Lopez back in the 6th inning, so his second plate appearance, walked back in the 6th. Galloway line drive, and to his right, Swanson able to take away a hit. 8 innings in the books here at Marlins Park. Swanson able to make it. Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Lincoln. Join the Lincoln Summer Invitation Sales Event. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, Craig Minervini, Kelly Sacco, Billy the Marlin. Gang's all here on a Sunday afternoon. Glad that you're with us. Oh, got a lot of dogs in the park, too. Just under 200 dogs for Bark in the Park.
Yeah, 194, I believe, was the exact number.
Right.
Is that right?
That's right. Brett Graves takes over. His 13th game this season for the Marlins. He'll face Nick Markakis, Johan Camargo. And then it looks like Adam Duvall lurking to potentially hit third in the pitcher spot due up.
Well, Graves has been on a pretty good run here of late. Last 7 innings, no earned runs, 3 Ks.
Markakis has walked a couple of times. The base hit in the 7th. Scored the first Braves run. They tacked on 3 more in the 8th. 3 unearned runs to open up this 4-0 advantage. The Braves looking for another win against the National League East. They are currently 20 games over 500 against the National League East this season. They also enter play with a 38-29 road record, which is second best in the National League. So as we bid adieu to the Atlanta Braves today, they still have about 5 weeks left of their season. But as they are currently constituted, and I say that because they potentially could add before the August 31st deadline, but as currently constituted, does this team have enough to A, hold off the Phillies, and B, perhaps make a run in the postseason?
My personal opinion, they do. I really do believe that they have enough to get it done. You know, it's not really kind of isolating one phase of the team that you'd say, okay, well, they do this better than everybody else. Of course, you know, the offense is one of the best in the National League, but you know, you mentioned their record in the division. That means, you know, as a former player and somebody who's been in the baseball circles for about the last 10 years outside post-career, you start to learn and pick up on the things that kind of define the winners when it comes down to it in the end. For me to believe that, you know, they're going to pile up all these wins against this division or lose that, it would just be shocking to me. Now, I say that with one stipulation. I know what the end of the season looks like for the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies. They're going to go mano-a-mano. I believe it's 7 times in the last week. Well, do the math. It is the last week.
It is, yes. The last 3 games of the regular season are in Philadelphia. Working backwards, prior to that, the Braves have a 3-game road trip against the New York Mets. So they finished with 6 on the road, but then, yes, 7 of their last 10 games are against the Phillies.
There you go. So, I mean, hard for me not to believe that it won't come down to that as much as anything. But I do believe that the Atlanta Braves will have the better record going into that stretch of games against the Philadelphia Phillies.
Johan Camargo, a line drive, right center field, turns towards second. Galloway's throw is not in time.
It's pretty amazing. That has got to be the 3rd time we've seen Camargo this season hit a double into the gap that's actually cut off by an outfielder, where he just accelerates through the first base bag and just knows how to smell it. I mean, almost like he knows he's going for it out of the box. You watch the shifting. Galloway does a nice job doing everything in his power to get over and cut this off, come up with a good strong throw. Camargo, too much speed from the get-go. He gets this double by thinking double out of the box. He's going full speed right there as you watch. No letting up.
His 9th double of the year against the Marlins.
Seen that last double, I don't know, I think it's like 4 of them are exactly that way. I think double, we always think of somebody shooting one down into the corner or off a wall. You're right, 9 against the Marlins. How about 9 of 23? He's got 23 on the season, 9 of them against the Marlins.
This is Adam Duvall pinch hitting in the pitcher spot. 0-1 to Duvall, who is 4 for 32 with the Atlanta Braves. There was certainly some hope when they acquired him that they'd see a little bit more of that 15 home runs, 61 RBIs. Go back the last couple of seasons. I mean, this was maybe an under the radar type of power threat in Cincinnati, on the national scope, that is.
Well, no doubt working through some things, whether they're mechanical or mental. It's been that type of season for him, but to his defense, not easy to do when the playing time which you're used to getting has dried up.
Yeah.
And you also have a team that is in a race right now, and they can't afford to give you the at-bats probably that you need to maybe work through it a little bit more. And 5 for 23 as a pinch hitter this year, 2 for 9 with Atlanta.
The last 2 years combined for Duvall, 64 home runs. This is 16 and 17, not this year. 64 home runs, 202 RBIs. Among outfielders, those 202 ribbies, second in the National League and fourth in Major League Baseball. Mookie Betts, Chris Davis, and Giancarlo Stanton. But the Braves have just not seen that player since they have acquired him, and frankly had a bit of a down part of the year with the Reds as well, as he strikes out for the second out here in the ninth. Ball and no strikes to Tyler Flowers. An RBI single in the 6th inning. Was hit by a pitch and scored in the 8th. Left center field, Galloway. And this game moves to the bottom of the 9th inning. Marlins have some work to do with the top of the order due up. Hollinsworth, as we are heading to the bottom of the 9th inning. Post-game show is up next, but after that, Inside the Marlins, Building the Future premieres today after our Marlins Live post-game show. Again, our thanks to President of Baseball Operations, Michael Hill, to take a little time out of his busy day to join us earlier, talk a little bit about the farm system. We'll see more of that after the post-game show as A.J. Minter takes over. 55th game for him, not a save situation with a 4-run lead to work with, but he's kind of been in that role the last couple of months for the
Well,
Braves.
AJ's got to get some work. He's missed some time, not on the disabled list, but did miss a few opportunities dealing with some lower back tightness. He's picked up the saves this year. He's picked up the holds. The 24-year-old's done a nice job out of the Braves bullpen.
Top of the order, Rafael Ortega to lead things off. Takes 96 miles an hour upstairs, 1-0.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Mint is at. Hasn't pitched in 8 days.
Not fresh. Or maybe he is fresh.
Yeah, I think he's fresh.
Could be very fresh. Ortega on the ground right side for Albies. Hits him by a step, one away. Bring up Brian Anderson. A couple of strikeouts this afternoon.
When you look up at the scoreboard, you realize that the Marlins only have one hit this afternoon. Pablo Lopez provided it. Last time the Marlins had one hit or fewer at home, Roy Halladay's perfect game, May 29th, 2010.
Haven't had a chance to really get much going. I mean, this is, you're gonna, if the score holds, they're gonna walk away with a split against the Atlanta Braves, but this is just one of those days where just couldn't get the offense going. 5 innings of work from Kevin Gausman, a guy who's worked deep in the ball game. Get him out. Game was kind of in the balance there in the middle innings. They forced the hand of Brian Snitker, but even then the bullpen comes in. Tough to get base runners. The 1 hit and the 2 walks, that's been it.
And so far, Mint has been more fresh than Wild. Definitely not a stale Mint.
Called strike 3. Marlins are down to their final out.
Now we've seen nothing but pitchers duels in this series. That's bullpen giving it up this afternoon. Nationals up 15-0, top 9.
Last I looked, it was 1-0.
Yeah, well, it's not that way anymore.
Wow.
8 runs at the top of the 8th and 6 runs at the top of the 9th.
Well, I guess the Nats offense is okay.
Or
was it 32 innings?
The Mets bullpen isn't.
Could be that too. Oh, and 1 to Derek Dietrich. Winter's 0-2 pitch misses upstairs at 96 miles an hour. Ball and 2 strikes to Dietrich. A couple of flyouts and a ground out for him today. And there's a base hit. the second hit of the afternoon for the Marlins, and their first since Pablo Lopez with 2 outs in the bottom of the 3rd.
A good swing by Dietrich, gets a breaking ball just above the knee, stays on it well, and drives it back through the middle. Good swing. 1 for 4 out of the 3 hole today.
Starlin Castro with 3 this afternoon. Runner goes, not being held, a foul ball anyway. Again, if the score holds, the Braves will have a close eye on the Phillies, who are up 8-3 right now in Toronto. Those 2 teams mirroring each other the last 3 days. Dietrich takes second on defensive indifference. Marlins had won the last 2 games here. No harm, no foul, as the Phillies also lost up in Toronto. Ball and a strike to Castro. Again, the Marlins down to their last strike. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. JT Realmuto in the on-deck circle if Castro can extend the game. Castro will see another. Off to Boston after this one, where the Red Sox will be also leaving Florida, having lost 9-1 today at the hands of the Tampa Bay Rays. Dietrich off second. Here comes to Castro. He misses outside. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Waved at and missed. And that's going to do it. A 4-0 win for the Atlanta Braves. This season series was not short of any headlines. Not one bit. But the Atlanta Braves end up winning 14 of the 19 games against the Marlins this year. Wish them the best of luck the rest of the way as they lead this National League East. 4-0. Marlins Live postgame show coming up next.